You are listening to the MVP Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Talkin Tech. Name's Danny Lawrence. And during these episodes, we're going to be discussing Indietech and how to apply it. And this one's going to be a little different. It's actually going to be one very similar to Caden Braley, where he's actually not a vendor. He consults agencies to use vendors, and you guys should go check that one out. We're not going to do a demo recording today. Now, this is recorded. There's a video recording. Go check it out so you can see the guests here and myself. But just so you know, there will be no demo today. All right, so let's get into it. My guest today, so he spends an insane amount of time understanding an agent's workflow, problems they face, and how you can overcome them with technology. He's actually pretty impressive. He's been in the industry for over 2 years now, right?
Little over 2 years now.
Little over 2 years now. And man, I'm not gonna, it's impressive. Like he's like soaks it up like a sponge. And it's gotten to the point to where I've heard him, I've been at tables with him, like lunch tables with other agents, and he's like at par with them and talking like workflows. It's awesome. But my guest, Jacob Bolton. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me, Danny.
Yeah, I figured I'm looking to do better with these intros, right? Do a little more hype, and I meant every word I said. It's awesome, like how much knowledge you have and what you've been able to apply in a conversation. So I mean, especially talking to other agents. And guys, as I always do this. Why should you listen here today? And the biggest takeaway is, Jacob, I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to you. Why should agents be listening to this today?
I mean, technology is being adopted. It's rapidly being adopted. We've seen how technology has evolved, even going back 20 years to, relatively recently, and, all the new vendors, all the new platforms out there. And, the best agencies are adopting technology because, that's how you scale out your agency, right? That's how you stay protected. I'm sure, some listeners out there are, thinking about all of the manual processes in their day, handwriting certain notes. And so, when you can adopt technology, you enable yourself to be successful and to scale out your business. Because at the end of the day, you have to, adopt with technology, or else, evolve or dissolve. You don't want to dissolve. So how do you adapt? And so that's where technology comes in.
No, that's awesome. No, seriously, that's so important. And we spoke before this. Listeners, Jacob and I, we connected over at Indietech. We will be covering our experience from the conference, talking about one of the speakers, Avi Knight. I took a photo of one of his slides about technology usage. It's baffling. Now it's only for 480 responses,
right?
But it was eye-opening. Agents do not use tech, and hey, that's not a bash. I don't want anyone to be like, "Oh, Danny, screw you." That's not the case. That's not what I'm trying to do here. The goal here is to get the industry to move towards adopting more tech. Because we've always said this. Other podcasters, other people have said before, insurance is just way behind in adopting this. So before we go through that, dude, I want to know a little more about you. Jacob, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you got in the industry. Dude, we're even go into how we met here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess going all the way back to that, I'm a fellow Maction baseball player as well. I know Danny played at Akron. I actually played at Eastern Michigan, and after college, there was a time period where I was really scratching at that competitive itch. I didn't feel like I was quite getting that out of my previous role, and luckily knowing you, playing for the fellow Expos, we got to know each other, and you brought me into the Indietech space with AgencyZoom. We worked together for a little bit, and so that was my intro to the Indietech space, and it's been a fun ride. Seeing it from I guess a smaller perspective, and now growing to understanding other other vendors, other technology, other solutions across the space. And it's been a great journey, and something an industry that I know you've said this before. I never saw myself getting into it, but now I never see myself getting out of it.
Yeah, no, it's true. Agents always say that. They're like, oh, I never thought I'd be in insurance. Same with like InsurTech. I think it's like even more of a niche. But it's fun. Like there's a huge opportunity for InsurTech or Indietech.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of companies out there that are really trying to make a difference. And you've been in the industry for over 2 years now. I've been in it for 4. When I started, there were no APIs. Like that was like the year when I joined, this like really being like developed for like companies, and how like important that was to integrate technology. So yeah, I mean, we worked like together at AgencyZoom. Guys, I brought on a lot of people from AgencyZoom, Andre, Matt, like they're good friends of mine. We talk a lot. We talk about the industry. So, felt like this was a good opportunity for them to give their perspective on the industry as well, and what agents should be doing. Andre's doing great things at the insurance app. Matt's doing great things at Vertifor, AgencyZoom, right? And yourself, Jacob. So, now are you still at AgencyZoom today?
Yep, still AgencyZoom, part of Vertifor now. It's been a fun ride. Obviously, we worked together for AgencyZoom prior to that acquisition, but even more so rolling into the Vertifor family. It's been great. I would say that our culture is the exact same. And I think, when talking about agencies, or even, on the tech side, culture is so big. And I know you and I talk about culture too. So it's been great.
Yeah. So culture, let's like kind of go. So we'll talk more about that here. Like your experience from AgencyZoom, Vertifor, it seems like you've gotten to work with a boatload or more agencies here. So tell me a little bit about your experience now with working, with different level agencies at Vertifor.
Yeah. Talk about dealing with a lot of different agencies, on a daily basis. You could meet with, small agencies, independent agencies, captive agencies, even sometimes, dealing with, larger networks, associations. And so, they bring their different opportunities and their different challenges. It's been it's been fun to have that experience. I would say that it's a different approach, and there are different tactics, and there's different needs and different responsibilities with that too. So
yeah, guys, his experience with small, medium, large agencies and like aggregator networks, like he's seen it all, and he's not reinventing the wheel. He's literally emulating what successful agencies do, and he's trying to relay that. Am I wrong by saying that? But that's what I kind of got from what you just said.
No, yeah, I mean, it starts with being curious and asking a question. That's how you learn. And from my perspective, every single agency is different, and it's not right of me to go into a phone conversation, a consultative meeting, and thinking that I know the answer, because truthfully, I don't. And, understanding, the agency's needs or wants is, super important. Every agency is unique in that sense.
Yeah, they're all unique. But you say needs and wants. So like you're going in, like you're asking them questions, you're probably gathering what tech they use. How has like being at AgencyZoom like helped you understand more of like the other pieces of tech out there and how to implement them?
Yeah, I mean, we all know what a management system is. We all probably have a management system out there. I would say that that's
To correct you or later, Avi Knight, there's 5% out there that don't. So
correct. Yeah, absolutely. Can't assume, but
that.
we're speaking probability, right? But
Yeah,
you
no,
probably have a management system, or you probably have heard of a management system, right?
Yeah.
A CRM is starting to get right up there. Maybe not quite to that level, but it does fit into a big piece of the tech stack. When we are talking about what does your stack look like, what does your tech stack look like, and so you have to understand how not just the solution like the one with AgencyZoom, how that fits into a management system, but also into different applications and solutions. I'm sure you can think of 3 different pieces of software that you use on a daily basis, and we talk about saving time, right? We want to try to save as much time as possible, and so how do you piece those together to centralize everything into one, or have those flowing together?
Yeah, how they're flowing, centralized together. Like you can name 3 pieces of tech off your mind. I'm sure an agent can do that. Like, oh, I use this, that, and that. Management systems house all the data. So important in connecting the carriers. CRMs being more and more adopted today. And it's great to see, right? A lot of agencies that, we were working with, processes were very manual, creating like tasks to follow up. And, CRM is given that opportunity to automate what would seem as tedious. I mean, like literally like creating a task, your brain's probably like, oh, that's not a big deal. But when you're doing it in the masses, like let's say you're in personalized, like that's extremely helpful to know exactly what you need to do every single day and to focus on the things that's going to make you money. So I know I'm biased because I used to sell but going into back into technology here, we went to Indietech and, like I thought it was great. Every single agent there was looking for technology, right? I know you were a vendor just like me, right, guys? And if you're listening to this now, I work in Wonderite, so I was a vendor. But I was part of a small part of help putting that together. But like Jacob, like what was your take from the event?
Technology is being adopted rapidly. I mean, I think even going back on the flip side of, it goes back to the why. Why is technology being adopted? My biggest takeaway from that is customer and employee expectations are rapidly, growing, right? Expectations are getting higher and higher. I think we can, even go back a couple of years and thank COVID for that, because how easy is it to go on DoorDash, order food, or Uber Eats, or we all use probably Amazon Prime and being able to order something overnight and have it at your door. And so consumers have expectations, and they take those expectations and apply it to every facet of their life, especially when we're talking about insurance. And so how does an agency evolve and adapt to those customer expectations? And even internally too, because we're all employees, we're all consumers, and so employee expectations are higher than ever. And so that was a huge takeaway for me. I think that the statistic that really jumped out was, the forecasts show that by the year 2026, 75% of the workplace is going to be made up of millennials and Gen Zs. And so, that's a wild statistic, but it's definitely something to think about. And asking yourself, okay, how do I make sure that I'm gearing myself up to be successful in the next 3 to 5 years? And it starts with technology.
Yeah, no, you make a good point there. Like people don't think about it like impacting their business today. but how we do business today, like in other things, like, I refinanced my loan, I was sent a link, clicked it, and it was so easy to do things. I expect to do business that way now.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've heard some agencies doing today, it's like mailing them stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, like that's okay. Like, don't bash me for that, guys. Like, there's no negativity there. I'm just saying, like, there's probably an easier way to do it and help you not have to like rekey data or anything like that. So like, you make a good point. And millennials, and what did you say? Millennials and Gen Zs, like 75%.
75% they're expecting by 2026 to make up the workplace. And that's not
Yeah.
just insurance, that's the workplace. That's across the board.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I'll give a quick example. I worked at a company called Insight, and we use a system called SX. It was built in the 80s. And I remember going into that, I was like, what the heck is this? But I started working in 2016, and literally I'm used to like entering stuff and like on websites, and like that was all fine. It was literally from the 80s, and it baffled me, like, what? People are working in this? So it's probably going to be like the same thing from that workforce. They're going to be like, what am I working in? And yeah, like we got to adapt. And it's not like going to impact your business today, but you think it's like you need it though, because they're going to want to work for you, or at least you want them to.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, guys, what I have here for those of you who are watching this, I'm going to pull this up here real quick. This is a snapshot that I took at Indietech. Now, guys, don't make fun of me. This was on my camera.
Please do.
There was like a little
Kind of walked around and got a better angle.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was nervous taking this, I guess. No, I'm joking. So the dark blue, if you're watching this, okay, is yes, I do have that system. Okay. Agency management system, carrier submission system, chatbot, CRM. There's saying in there for digital payments, e-signature, marketing automation, a mobile app, text messaging, and voice over IP. The light blue in here is no. Okay. Insane that, I mean, again, I'm biased. CRM is still like all the way down there. Like, it's crazy. And, what's good there, Jacob, is like that, you're working over at AgencyZoom, that is going to provide a huge opportunity for you guys of getting CRMs adopted. Because, you've seen the benefit that it can make for agencies.
Absolutely. And I like to refer to, let's pretend like you don't have a CRM, right? But you have a management system. I like to refer to, logging things into the management system like the telephone game, because you're having to take things from, let's say your email or a phone call or a note, a sticky note, and you're having to, replicate that over and over again to put it into your software. And so what happens with that? Well, we've all played the telephone game, right? The message changes as it gets relayed. And so, the CRM is what's funneling the data into your management system. So you're not having to log that information, yourself, because, I guess it's good to see like the text messaging. I don't see how far out it goes, but I mean, are you checking your email every day, or are you checking your phone every day? Well, you're probably checking your email every day because, with work, but let's say on the weekends, right?
Yeah, like you got a phone, like you probably got a phone. Like,
yeah, you probably have to, you have a phone, you have texting of some sort. So I'm checking the text message before I'm checking an email, it's say 8 times out of 10. And so how does that feed into, your management system? Because if you're communicating with a lot of consumers through text message, is that connected to your management system? A lot of times they have texting, but it doesn't document those, inbound text messages too. And that's just as important as the message you're trying to relay.
Yeah, that's important. What stood out here? Like viewing this, what stood out the most to you?
There's still so much room for technology to be adopted. I mean, I'm I know I'm biased for CRM, so I was like, man, that's a really low number. But even, e-signature, a lot of agencies are not using e-signature,
Crazy.
that crazy to me. Text messaging too, VoIP system. I think that, when looking at technology, when thinking about what is the right technology, for my agency, what are you doing on a daily basis? Chances are, you're logging things into a management system, you're talking on the phone, you're, maybe virtually meeting too. You have a phone number that you're texting back and forth, email. Start thinking about, okay, if I'm investing all of our efforts into making sure that we have our data in our management system, how are we funneling that information into our management system, and how are we leveraging integration so we're not having to do that over and over again? Because the simple act of one email could double to triple in time if it's not connected with anything else. And so thinking in that direction, I think leads to, well, you have to adopt technology, if you want to save that time too. So, I mean, in general, it kind of all was, eye-popping.
Yeah, it was crazy. There's so much. I mean, hey, if you're part of a Indietech company, there's a lot of room. There's a lot of opportunity. Agents don't use tech, period. Now, again, this is off of 480 agencies. Okay, so it's not
Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, absolutely.
this isn't all the 36,000. I'm sure this would change, right? I still think it's crazy. I guess, guys, if you can see this, there's like literally a little light blue here of where the 5% that aren't using a management system and they're just using Excel spreadsheet. Can you imagine managing policies today with a
without
Excel spreadsheet? Without a man, I couldn't. Like I've seen it.
No shot. There's no way.
Massive schedules, like in schedules, like
think about if you didn't have, even an Excel spreadsheet, but just like files, how many rooms that would have to
scale. Like I couldn't like manage business. I'd be so focused on like one client at a time. That's all my time would be focused on.
One business per city at that point.
Yeah, like wouldn't be making any money. But I mean, but I'm bringing that up, guys, because like technology has kept evolving, right? It's making agents do their jobs easier. And Jacob, with all this technology, a question was asked later, and it was actually during the CEO panel. It was at the end of the CEO panel. An agent asked a question: Is the technology price going to increase? And all four of them up there was like Ivan's, PIA, Vertifor, and Applied. They all said, "Oh yeah." It is. Like the reality is, guys, when you're looking at this picture right here, like you're going to need these systems in order to compete with the competition. I mean, is that what you got out of that, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look at, taking it outside of this industry, but looking at like Nikes and Adidas, Nike didn't start at, $150, $200 a shoe. It got to that point because of how many people were using Nikes, supply and demand. And so, the best agencies are leveraging technology. And when the best agencies are leveraging technology, there's more usage. And that means companies are also investing into that technology to make sure that it's the best technology possible, that they have all the bells and whistles, that it has the right functionality. And so when you're investing more into the product, it's going to be more expensive. But that doesn't mean it's hitting the bottom line. It just means that you have to invest into that technology, and it's worth every penny.
Yeah, no, hey guys, you're probably going to be spending more on tech, and it's the reality. But at the end of the day, this is what insureds are expected when doing business with you, and your employees expect this nowadays, right? So it's important to keep that in mind. Hey, I appreciate you hopping on here, Jacob, and based off of like what we were talking about today, as a listener, what should I take from this episode?
Modernizing the agency. We're in an industry that, is still adopting technology. Technology is being adopted. I know that was my first takeaway, but just modernizing that agency, not just for, your employees, but also your consumers, your customers, your clients. And, it goes hand in hand. And so making sure that, you keep adopting, keep, investing into technology, because that helps you scale. You brought up a good point where if you're having to manage your entire agency off of a spreadsheet or even, paper files, there's no way you can scale that. You can't have 157 pages of, information, all these hyperlinks. You have to have it into a management system. And so thinking about how do you build the right tech stack for your agency? Every agency is completely different. And so it's what fits you, but gotta invest. Technology, that's the saving grace.
Invest. That's how we're closing it. Invest. Just do it. I promise you, invest. Like, what's your market telling you? What do you want to tackle? Personalized, commercial. Check out the systems out there, figure out your stack, and invest. So, Jacob, thanks for hopping on here, man. It was a pleasure having you speak about technology today.
Absolutely. I love talking tech.
Yeah. Well, guys, at the end of the day, we discussed Indietech and how it'll help you with your agency. So thanks for listening. Catch you on the next episode. Peace.